The underestimation. Grand Admiral Zex Toril stood before the Keldari Imperium's War Council, his four arms gesturing at the holographic display of a small blue-green planet. Earth, he pronounced with dismissive confidence. A Level 2 civilization at best. Pre-FTL capabilities, primitive weaponry, and fractured political systems. The perfect stepping stone to expand our influence in the Orient sector. The 12 members of the War Council nodded in agreement. For centuries, the Keldari had systematically expanded their territory, annexing weaker systems with surgical precision. Their strategy was always the same: quick invasion, minimal resistance, and rapid resource extraction. Their technology is laughable, continued Zex Toril, flicking through images of Earth's visible space installations. Chemical rockets, basic ion propulsion, and orbital stations built from crude materials. Their military capabilities are confined to their atmosphere, with only token forces beyond their moon. Supreme War Master Kelvex, leader of the Council, leaned forward, and their response to our probe. As expected, War Master. Confusion, excitement, and fear. Their governments scrambled to present a unified front, but their broadcasts reveal internal chaos. They've attempted to establish communication, but we've maintained strategic silence. And resources, abundant, War Master, water, rare minerals, and a stable biosphere. But most importantly, Zex Toril's expression shifted to one of hunger. 7 billion potential laborers. Kelvex nodded slowly. The Imperium's expansion required ever-increasing workforces. Earth represented a significant opportunity. The invasion plan. Simple and efficient. 3 battle groups targeting their largest population centers. Our projections indicate total surrender within 7 planetary rotations. Minimal Keldari casualties. Very well, Kelvex said, rising to his full 3-meter height. You have authorization, Admiral. Make it quick and clean. The galaxy need not even notice Earth's transition to Keldari control. As the council chamber emptied, only Science Director Rel Taven remained, studying the holographic image of Earth with unusual intensity. Admiral, a moment, she called as Zex Toril turned to leave. Director, something troubles me about this planet. Such as their development trajectory. 80 years ago, they were fighting with propeller aircraft and basic fission weapons. Now they've reached their moon and established orbital industries. Rapid progress for primitives, certainly, Zex Toril conceded, but still centuries behind our technology. Perhaps, Rel Taven said softly. But no other species we've encountered has advanced so quickly. And there's something else, their communications. What about them? They've gone quiet. In the past decade, their broadcast emissions have decreased by 60%. Their military transmissions, in particular, have almost disappeared. The Admiral waved a dismissive hand. Budget constraints, most likely. These primitive civilizations often sacrifice military development for civilian comfort. Or, Rel Taven countered, they've developed more secure communication methods. I recommend caution, Admiral. At minimum, send additional reconnaissance before committing the battle groups. Zex Toril's mandibles clicked in irritation. Your concern is noted, Director, but unnecessary. The invasion will proceed as planned. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth, General Elena Vasquez stood in the heart of the TURA Command Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the approaching Keldari fleet. Time to invasion, she asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. 48 hours, General, replied Colonel Jackson. 3 battle groups, standard Keldari formation, exactly as intelligence predicted. Vasquez nodded. For 70 years, Earth had prepared for this moment. Since the first alien probe entered the solar system in 2054, humanity had lived with the knowledge that they were not alone, and that the galaxy was not a friendly place. Status of the Aegis platforms. All 400 satellites in position, cloaking systems active. They're completely invisible to Kildare sensors. The Phantom Fleet. 20 carrier groups hidden throughout the asteroid belt, plus 5 destroyer squadrons in lunar orbit. All weapons systems green. Vasquez took a deep breath. And Project Prometheus. Ready, General, said Dr. Chen, the project's lead scientist. The quantum disruption field has been tested on all known Kildare technology. Their shields won't stand a chance. For decades, Earth had maintained a careful facade, publicly struggling with basic space technology, while secretly developing capabilities far beyond anything the Kildare could imagine. The United Earth Defense Force had constructed hidden shipyards on Mars' dark side and throughout the Jovian moons. Stealth technologies had been perfected, allowing human vessels to operate undetected by alien sensors. Most importantly, reverse engineering from salvaged alien technology had given humanity the edge it needed: faster than light travel, quantum weaponry, and defensive systems that could withstand attacks from even the most powerful Kildare warships, all while pretending to be a fractured, primitive species barely capable of reaching their own moon. Initiate Operation Thunderbolt, Vasquez ordered. All military personnel to battle stations, civilian shelters activated. Across Earth, millions of citizens calmly proceeded to underground bunkers, not in panic, but with the practiced efficiency of a population that had drilled for this scenario their entire lives. The public face of Earth showed disarray and confusion, but beneath the surface, humanity moved with singular purpose. Message from the President, General, announced Colonel Jackson. Authorization for full defensive response granted. Rules of engagement confirmed. Vasquez nodded grimly. Very well. Let's welcome our uninvited guests. Admiral Zex Toril watched with satisfaction as his fleet approached the outer edge of Earth's solar system. The invasion force was impressive even by Kildare standards. 15 capital ships, 40 cruisers, and over 200 support vessels. Enough firepower to subjugate 10 planets, let alone one primitive world. Admiral, his sensor officer called, we're detecting unusual activity near the planet Mars. Explain. Energy signatures, sir. Faint but present. Not consistent with known human technology. Zex Toril frowned. Interference from the asteroid belt, most likely. Continue approach. As the fleet passed Neptune's orbit, the communications officer suddenly straightened. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the humans. Put it through, Zex Toril ordered, curious what futile diplomatic gesture the primitives might attempt. A human female appeared on the view screen, wearing a simple dark uniform with minimal insignia. Kildare vessels, this is General Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Defense Force. You are entering restricted space without authorization. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. Laughter erupted across the bridge. Consequences. Zex Toril's mandibles clicked in amusement. Respond with standard conquest protocol. Inform them that resistance is. Admiral. The sensor officer interrupted, panic in his voice. Multiple energy signatures activating throughout the system. Suddenly, the view screen filled with alerts as hundreds of previously undetected objects revealed themselves. Satellites around every planet, ships emerging from behind moons and asteroids, weapon platforms materializing from empty space. Impossible, Zex Toril whispered as the sensors updated to show the true scale of Earth's defenses. They can't have this technology. The human general's face reappeared on screen. Admiral, this is your final warning. The Kildare Imperium has a reputation for only respecting strength. Allow us to demonstrate ours. Before Zex Toril could respond, a blinding flash erupted from Jupiter's orbit. A beam of concentrated energy sliced through space, striking the Lid Kildare dreadnought. Instead of impacting the shields, the beam simply passed through them, as if they didn't exist, cutting the massive vessel in half. All ships, battle formations, Zex Toril shouted. Launch fighters, target those platforms. But it was already too late. From the asteroid belt, hundreds of small, angular craft emerged, moving with impossible speed and maneuverability. They swarmed the Caldari ships, firing weapons that bypassed shields entirely, striking with surgical precision at engines, weapon systems, and command centers. "Sir, we've lost contact with Battle Group 2. His communications officer reported frantically. Battle Group 3 reports they're surrounded by human vessels that appeared from nowhere. The bridge rocked as something struck their flagship. Alarms blared as systems failed across the ship. How? Zextoral demanded, his mandibles clicking in distress. How could they hide this level of technology? On the view screen, General Vasquez's expression remained calm. Admiral, perhaps you should have sent additional reconnaissance, as your science director suggested. For 70 years, we've watched your Imperium consume world after world. We knew our turn would come. We prepared accordingly. Another Caldari dreadnought exploded in a spectacular flash as Earth's hidden fleet continued its assault. This isn't possible, Zextoral whispered. Earth is pre-FTL. Their technology is primitive. No, Admiral, Vasquez corrected. Earth simply let you believe we were primitive. A strategy your kind never considered, appearing weak while growing strong. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread with shocking speed. In the Grand Council chambers of the Galactic Confederation, representatives from 30 species gathered in emergency session. Confirmed reports indicate that the Caldari invasion fleet has been completely destroyed, announced the Arcturian delegate, his glowing appendages pulsing with agitation. Only 3 vessels escaped, and they are being pursued by Earth forces. Murmurs of disbelief filled the chamber. Impossible, declared the Vega representative. Earth is a level 2 civilization at most. Our last assessment showed them barely capable of reaching their own moon. That assessment, replied the Syrian intelligence director, appears to have been catastrophically wrong. We're receiving data from multiple sources confirming that Earth has deployed technology centuries beyond what we believed they possessed. Stealth systems that render entire fleets invisible, weapons that bypass Caldari shields as if they don't exist. And most concerning, faster-than-light capabilities we've never encountered before. Silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. For centuries, the advanced species of the galaxy had categorized Earth as insignificant, a curiosity at best, a future resource at worst. Now, without warning, humanity had revealed itself as a formidable power. How did we miss this? Asked the Pleiadian chancellor. The Syrian director's expression darkened. Because they wanted us to miss it. Earth has been deliberately projecting an image of technological backwardness while developing in secret. Our agents report that their entire population was complicit in the deception, a planetary-scale masquerade maintained for decades. On the main view screen, footage from the battle played. Earth ships moved with impossible precision, their dark, angular hulls seeming to drink in light rather than reflect it. Caldari vessels, considered among the most powerful in known space, were systematically dismantled by weapons that left no radiation signature, no thermal trail, nothing that conventional sensors could detect until it was too late. They've been watching us, the director continued, learning our technologies, our tactics, our weaknesses, all while presenting themselves as primitive, fractured, and harmless. What do they want? Asked the Vega representative. As if in answer, the communication system chimed. Incoming transmission from Earth, announced the chamber's eye. The view screen shifted to show General Vasquez, now standing in what appeared to be a command center deep underground. Representatives of the Galactic Confederation, she began, her voice calm but firm. For 70 years, humanity has observed your civilizations from afar. We've watched as stronger powers consumed weaker ones. We've witnessed the Caldari Imperium expand unchecked, conquering peaceful worlds while the Confederation did nothing. She paused, letting her words sink in. We chose a different path. We hid our advancements. We presented ourselves as weak while growing strong in silence. Today, the Caldari Imperium learned the cost of underestimating Earth. Consider this a formal introduction to the true capabilities of humanity. The screen went dark, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The Reckoning. Supreme Warmaster Calvex paced the emergency command bunker on Calderia Prime, his massive frame radiating barely contained fury. The holographic displays surrounding him showed the unthinkable, the complete destruction of the invasion fleet, the most powerful military force the Imperium had deployed in a century. How? He demanded, slamming his fist onto the strategic table. How could we have been so catastrophically wrong about their capabilities? Science Director Reltaven stepped forward, her expression grim. They deceived us deliberately, Warmaster. Analysis of the battle footage shows technologies we've never encountered before. Not just advanced versions of known principles, entirely new approaches to physics itself. Explain. Their weapons appear to operate on quantum entanglement principles. They don't strike shields. They simply exist simultaneously on both sides of the barrier. Their stealth technology doesn't just mask energy signatures. It bends space-time around their vessels, making them literally invisible until they choose to be seen. The War Council members exchanged uneasy glances, and their FTL capabilities. Unlike anything in our databases, Reltaven admitted, no hyperspace window, no warp bubble. Their ships seem to disconnect from normal space completely, then reconnect at their destination. Zero transition time. Calvex's eyes narrowed. You're saying they're more advanced than we are? Than anyone in the known galaxy? Not necessarily in all areas, Reltaven clarified, but in the specific technologies they chose to develop, particularly those with military applications. Yes, they appear to have focused their entire civilization's resources on preparing for this moment. The question, rumbled Fleet Master Drazkan, is what they'll do next. Will they push their advantage, strike at the heart of the Imperium? As if summoned by his words, a priority alert sounded. The central holographic display flickered, showing the human face, not General Vasquez, but an older male with silver hair and the bearing of a senior leader. This is President Chen of the United Earth Alliance. I address the leadership of the Caldari Imperium directly. Your unprovoked aggression against our home has been met with appropriate force. We have demonstrated a fraction of our military capabilities. We now offer you a choice. The human's expression remained neutral, professional, the face of a leader accustomed to making hard decisions. Option 1. The Caldari Imperium immediately withdraws from all territories annexed within the last 50 years, returning sovereignty to their original inhabitants. You will dismantle your offensive fleets and accept monitoring by neutral parties. Outraged hisses filled the command bunker. Option 2. The human continued, unperturbed. In 24 hours, Earth will demonstrate the full extent of our reach. The transmission ended abruptly. Arrogance, spat Drazkan. They destroy one fleet and think they can dictate terms to the Imperium. We have thousands of ships, hundreds of worlds. Calvex remained silent, staring at the now empty display. Warmaster, prompted Reltaven. Your orders? Recall the home defense fleets, he finally said. Position them around Calderia Prime and our core worlds. Alert our allies in the Draconian Collective. We may need their support. And the human ultimatum. Calvex's mandibles clicked in contempt. Ignored. Whatever technology they possess, they are one world against an empire. They've won a battle, not the war. In Earth's TURA command center, President Chen turned from the communication array to face his military and scientific leadership. They won't comply, he stated simply. General Vasquez nodded. As expected, Mr. President, the Caldari have never negotiated from a position of perceived weakness. Then we proceed with the demonstration. Chen's expression was heavy with the weight of the decision. Are we certain this is necessary? The fleet action was decisive. Perhaps they'll reconsider without further escalation. Dr. Chen, head of the Prometheus project, stepped forward. Mr. President, our psychological profiles of Caldari leadership indicate they only respect overwhelming force. They're already consolidating their defensive positions, calling in allies. They believe we're bluffing, that a single world, regardless of technology, cannot threaten their empire. Very well. The president squared his shoulders. General Vasquez, you have authorization to proceed with Operation Starfall. Minimal casualties. This is a demonstration, not an attack. Understood, sir. As the leadership dispersed to their stations, Admiral Rice approached Vasquez. The ghost ships are in position, he reported quietly. Quantum sync is stable. Prometheus devices are armed and ready. Vasquez checked the time. 22 hours until the deadline. Alert all commanders. We jump at precisely 400. Across the galaxy, intelligence agencies scrambled to assess the sudden emergence of Earth as a military power. In the Arcturian Republic, the High Council reviewed the limited data available. The humans have revealed only a fraction of their capabilities, noted Chief Analyst Threnva. The weapons we observed neutralizing Caldari shields operate on principles our science doesn't yet grasp, and their stealth technology. Could they truly challenge the Caldari Imperium? Asked Counselor Ziv. That remains unclear, admitted Threnva. The Imperium spans 300 worlds, with thousands of warships. Even with superior technology, Earth is outmatched in sheer numbers. Unless, interjected military advisor Corel, they have something else we haven't seen yet. Exactly 24 hours after delivering their ultimatum, Earth made its move. On 117 Caldari worlds simultaneously, the skies briefly rippled as if space itself shuddered. Then, appearing as if from nowhere, dark human vessels materialized in high orbit. On Caldaria Prime, Calvex stared in disbelief at the tactical display showing enemy ships directly above the capital, having bypassed the entire defense fleet without detection. Impossible, he whispered. No FTL system allows such precision. Before anyone could respond, the view screens activated without command. President Chen's face appeared on every communication device across the Imperium simultaneously. The deadline has passed, he stated simply. We now demonstrate the reach of Earth's defensive capabilities. Across the Caldari Imperium, on every world simultaneously, the human vessels released small, spherical objects that descended toward the planets below. Weapons systems fired frantically at the objects, but to no effect. Energy beams and projectiles simply passed through them, as if they weren't there. The spheres stopped their descent approximately 5 kilometers above each world's capital city. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, every power system across each city failed simultaneously. Not violently, not destructively. They simply ceased functioning. From the most sophisticated military installation to the simplest household device, all technology went dark. In the Caldari capital, Calvex watched in growing horror as the blackout spread in a perfect circle from the city center, expanding at a steady pace until it encompassed the entire metropolitan area. Emergency systems, shielded military equipment, even basic chemical energy sources, all inert. What is happening? He demanded, his voice rising. Science Director Rel Taven studied her instruments with growing dismay. It's some form of selective quantum disruption field. It's not destroying our technology. It's temporarily suspending the physical laws that allow it to function. For precisely 5 minutes, the 117 most important cities in the Caldari Imperium remained in darkness. No casualties, no destruction. Just the unmistakable message that Earth could, at any moment, shut down the technological foundation of their entire civilization. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the effects vanished. Power returned, systems reactivated, and the spheres ascended back to their deployment vessels. President Chen's face reappeared on the communication systems. This demonstration affected only your capital cities and targeted only technology, not life. We could have expanded it to encompass entire planets. We could have made it permanent. We chose restraint. He leaned forward slightly, his expression unwavering. The Caldari Imperium has 24 hours to begin compliance with our terms. There will not be another warning. The transmission ended. Across the Imperium, the human vessels shimmered and vanished, leaving no trace of their presence. 6 hours later, in an unprecedented move, War Master Kelvex himself appeared on an open galactic broadcast. The Caldari Imperium, he announced, his voice stiff with forced dignity, has agreed to diplomatic negotiations with the United Earth Alliance regarding territorial adjustments and military positioning. Throughout the galaxy, civilizations watched in stunned disbelief as the mighty Caldari Imperium, conquerors of hundreds of worlds over centuries, effectively surrendered to a planet that, until days ago, most had classified as primitive. 1 week later, in the newly constructed Earth Embassy on neutral Centauri Prime, representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the formal signing of the Treaty of Sol. The document officially recognized Earth as a sovereign power with protected status, established terms for the Caldari withdrawal from conquered territories, and created a new framework for galactic relations. General Vasquez stood at the back of the chamber, watching the proceedings with a carefully neutral expression. Admiral Reyes joined her, speaking quietly. "Quite a change in the galactic order," he observed. "A week ago, most of these species didn't consider us worth acknowledging. Now they're falling over themselves to establish diplomatic relations." "Fear is a powerful motivator," Vasquez replied. "They don't respect us. They're terrified of us. There's a difference. Does it matter? We've secured Earth's safety. The Caldari won't threaten us again. No one will." Vasquez watched as President Chen signed the treaty with ceremonial flourish, cameras from a dozen worlds capturing the historic moment. "It matters," she said softly. "Fear creates temporary allies, not lasting peace. The real work begins now." Across the chamber, Science Director Reltaven approached, having been appointed the Caldari's chief diplomatic representative. "General Vasquez," she greeted with formal politeness. "Your demonstration was most effective. It achieved its purpose," Vasquez acknowledged. "I admit curiosity," Reltaven said, lowering her voice. "The quantum disruption technology, did your scientists truly develop it independently, or did you have assistance? Perhaps wreckage from other civilizations? Ancient technology?" Vasquez smiled slightly. "Would it comfort the Caldari to believe we couldn't have developed it ourselves?" "It might," the science director admitted. "The alternative, that humans advanced from atmospheric flight to quantum manipulation within a single century, is somewhat disturbing to contemplate." "Necessity breeds innovation, Director. When we detected your scout ships 70 years ago, we researched your activities throughout the sector. We saw the pattern: assessment, invasion, subjugation. We knew our turn would come eventually. So you hid your true capabilities. We showed you what you expected to see: a fractured, struggling species barely capable of reaching our own moon, all while building something very different in secret." Reltaven's compound eyes studied the human carefully. "And now, what does Earth want from the galaxy?" Vasquez gazed across the chamber, where representatives from formerly conquered worlds were signing the treaty that would restore their independence. To be left alone would be preferable, but history suggests that isolation invites aggression. So instead, we'll help build something better. "A Pax Humanica," Reltaven suggested, the translator struggling slightly with the concept. "No," Vasquez shook her head. "A genuine alliance, where strength protects the vulnerable rather than exploits them. The Caldari way was conquest. Ours will be different." Across the chamber, President Chen completed the signing ceremony. Applause erupted from the gathered representatives, some genuine, some clearly forced. "A new galactic order," Reltaven mused, "with humanity at its center." "Not at its center," Vasquez corrected, "but certainly no longer at its margins." As the ceremony concluded, news of the treaty spread across thousands of worlds. For species long oppressed by stronger powers, Earth's emergence offered something long forgotten: hope. For expansionist empires, it provided something equally unfamiliar: caution. And for humanity, it marked the end of pretense. No longer would they hide their strength or potential. The galaxy had forced their hand, compelling them to reveal capabilities they had hoped to keep hidden for decades more. The silent sentinel had spoken. The quiet guardians had shown their power. And the galaxy would never be the same again.